All right, UFC 327 immediate reaction, and I am heartbroken. That sucks. Usually I try to record these right away, but I wanted to stick around, see what Yuri had to say on the mic. And man, that was not easy to watch. Clearly, he's feeling emotions too. But yeah, it just sucks. He opens up the fight. They're both going tit for tat. Olberg's landing some leg kicks. Yuri's landing some leg kicks. Yuri goes in for an exchange, and Olberg kind of falls off balance. And when he falls, he lands on the inside of his foot. And he said he blew out his knee. It looked like he might have tore his calf. He clearly injured his leg. And then from then, his footwork just wasn't the same. He couldn't back up properly. He was moving forward fine, but the shift of the weight from his front leg to his rear leg was completely gone. So I was like, oh, it's over. Yuri's going to win. If Yuri was going to get knocked out, it was going to be about check left hook. And you're not going to have enough sting on a check left hook to catch a guy if you can't move the weight from your front leg to your back. But Olberg kept fighting. He kept working. Yuri would walk up to him, especially when he would stumble, and be like, hey, I'll give you some space. I know you're injured. And he'd back up. And then Yuri was like, okay, I'm going to fucking give him a fight now. I'm going to go light him up. He shoots a jab. He goes to feint the two. And as he feints the two, he throws another jab and doesn't return his rear hand to his chin. And he gets just clipped right on the point of the chin with a left hook. Olberg didn't even turn it over. He just threw it as like a kind of like a distance checker. I mean, not to take anything away. Obviously, it was a great knockout. It's going to sound like I'm coping. Olberg had a great performance. I tweeted out, if this had happened against Ankalaev, we wouldn't be able to even hear his post-fight speech, how loud the crowd was cheering. I mean, that's one of the craziest wins in title history. He blows out his leg and then gets a knockout. Doesn't turn the punch over. He just throws it basically with his thumb. If you hold out your left thumb, if you point it towards your right, that's how his hand was, with his knuckles towards the ground. He throws it like that, and he lands just with the glove, not even the full knuckles, right on the point of the chin, puts Yuri down. He obviously got dropped by that against Pereira. His chin probably hasn't been the same since those Pereira fights, but, maybe I thought he'd be able to take a better punch than that, but he obviously didn't see it coming, or he thought his hand would be in the way before. But yeah, he really just fumbled the victory there, and it sucks. But not all hope is lost. I've long had this opinion. Most of my favorite fighters, like Yuri, I like Carlos Prates a lot. I don't mind them losing. I mean, it sucks watching them get knocked out for sure, but I don't mind them losing so bad when I know that there's opportunity for more entertaining fights down the rankings. Like Yuri, if he won this fight, it was probably going to be Ankalaev next, or maybe a rematch at Olberg, or Blachowicz, or Guskov, or something like that. And I think there's more entertaining fights down the rankings, especially when we consider that the next fight was almost guaranteed to be Ankalaev or Olberg in the rematch. And I don't think those guys are very entertaining. Obviously, Olberg, his last two, he's put on blinders, had 2 first-round knockouts. So there's that. But I think that there's more entertaining fights with Yuri against Blachowicz or Guskov. I'm just worried about how his chin's going to hold up in the future, especially people talking about him going to middleweight. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see him get knocked out real bad. He's got those defensive flaws, but I can't, be mad at him for it, because that's why I love his fights. I mean, he's got the flaws. He's got the crazy athleticism. He's got the crazy power, and the crazy style. That's why we love him. And I think you can't be, mad at him, or, I mean, if you're a hater or whatever, do your thing. But if you're going to like Yuri Prochazka, you're going to like him because he's so crazy. So that's what comes with being crazy, especially as he gets older, as he slows down, as his chin sorts of degrades. So there's that. Oh, by the way, on picks, I did horrible in this card. I did 5, 6, and 1. I had a couple decent underdog picks, but nothing great. But I think probably my better pick of the card was Paulo Costa against Azamat Murzakanov. The fight went pretty much exactly how I thought it would. I thought Costa would do a little bit better in the second round. He seemed to slow down a bit, and there was a kind of weird thing with this fight, and a couple fights I've seen recently, where whenever a fighter moves up a weight class, it seems like they're... Man, I can't believe Yuri lost, man. Fuck. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, it seems like people who move up a weight class have been significantly larger than their opponent recently that's already a member of the upper weight class. I can't think of any other examples off the top of my head. But, I mean, there's like... This is a weird one, but Veronica Hardy versus whoever she fought like 2 fights ago. The other person was coming up to flyweight and was way bigger. Eduardo Moore, that's who it was. I've seen this a lot, like, more recently. And I kind of understand why. Like, usually when someone goes up in a weight class, it's because they're big for the weight class below. And the person above them in the weight class doesn't necessarily have to be big for the weight class. So I get it. But Paulo Costa was massive, and he also had, like, sort of the attributive effects of being the bigger opponent. I think he probably would have been better off if he didn't bulk up super hard between fights. If he just came in, maybe 1 or 2, or 2 to 5 pounds heavier, with lean muscle, and then just came in the same shape that he did at 185 and just didn't cut as much weight, he probably went better off, because in the second round when Murzakanov started to have success, it was because Costa started to slow down and Murzakanov hadn't slowed down yet. But Costa was way bigger, and in the first round, not a ton happened. It was kind of a slow round, but Costa was landing a couple of good body kicks, and every time he landed the good body kick, Murzakanov was like, fuck, I need to get like my get back right now. And he had a couple moments of success early on with that. Costa wasn't moving his head super well. He wasn't covering up super well. I think Murzakanov shocked him with how quick he was. And it seemed like Costa definitely slowed down up weight class. And he's always struggled with faster opponents like Adesanya, Strickland, Whitaker. I guess Strickland's not super fast, but you know what I mean. He throws like, quicker strikes. So kind of made sense, but I was surprised how much Costa had slowed down. I was surprised how big Costa was, so I guess that's kind of why. But through a lot of those body kicks, and early on, like I said, it would really set off Murzakanov, and I think it was because Murzakanov knew that his arm would break if he kept taking kicks, because his arm had broken against, I'm pretty sure it was Dustin Jacoby. So I understand why he was super urgent, and that was where he had the most success. So he probably wanted to stay on the front foot more. It's just those big rear open side body kicks for Costa have always been paralyzing to his opponents. So he's landing those really well. The commentary, maybe this is about a different fight, but I think it was about Reyes, but I think they might have said it about Costa too. They kept saying he wasn't setting up his kicks. When he was setting up his kicks with other kicks with the same leg, he was going low with the inside low kicks, which all landed well. Even some of the ones that were shin to shin, he was getting the better. You could tell, like Murzakanov was definitely getting hurt by them more. He was going to the body, and those were hurting Murzakanov pretty badly. Those are the ones that were making him urgent. And then towards the end of the first round and throughout the second, he started throwing up high kicks on the same side. He actually opened the fight up with a high kick, which I thought was smart because everyone knew that the body kick was going to be a factor. So Murzakanov was probably ready for the body kick, and Costa snuck one up to the head and landed with the foot. But yeah, in the second round, he started going more and more with the high kicks, mixing up to the body. And he started going up the middle too, just trying to keep Murzakanov guessing with his guard. And eventually he lands, I think at the very beginning of round 3, he lands a big head kick. It hurts Murzakanov. They get in like a little exchange where Murzakanov lands a good punch, and then Costa lands another head kick. That one hurts him. They go back and forth for a bit, and then Costa throws another head kick. It hurts him, and Murzakanov clearly broke his arm. Joe Rogan called it out, and he was right. Joe Rogan likes to call it injuries, but he's usually wrong. But this time I think pretty confident he was right, especially on the last head kick that Costa threw. You could see like some unnatural movement in Murzakanov's forearm. Like he definitely did break his arm or fuck it up pretty bad, like enough that like bruising looked like a broken bone. And like I said, Murzakanov was going to get, I said it was going to be a body kick, but I said Murzakanov was going to get beaten up for the first 2 rounds and then just not have enough in the tank to take the damage that Costa can do with those kicks. I thought it was going to be the body. I thought he was going to fall to a body kick, but he got kicked in the head, and then he's like, I don't want to get kicked again. I'm rocked. I'm gassed. I can't really stay on his feet, so he kind of just sank to the floor. Costa went in for a ground and pound shot. Herzog got on the way, said it's over. Good performance by Costa, but Murzakanov didn't look so bad in that. I don't think he's definitely improved a ton since the Tafon and Chukwi fight, so I think a lot of people that are like, Costa's clearly going to win because Murzakanov is losing to Chukwi. He's definitely improved since then. I don't think he's as kind of beatable. He needed to finish in that fight, and I don't think he necessarily needed to finish in this one. If he could, he won the second round, he could have won the third. So I think he's definitely improved. Josh Hokit versus Curtis Blaydes, one of the best fights of the year. One of the probably best heavyweight fights of all time, especially in the UFC. There were some better ones in Dream and Pride or whatever, but as far as this wasn't a very skilled fight, but basically Hokit came out, he was flipping off Blaydes, and right from the jump, right from the first bell, he was on Blaydes, and he was spamming 1-2s over again. 1-2, 1-2, 1, 1, 1-2, 1-2, 1, 1, 1. A ton of that, and it was landing well because Blaydes doesn't move his head a ton, and Hokit is way faster than every heavyweight, other than Aspinall, which is kind of why Aspinall had success against Blaydes, just because he was so much faster. So it made sense that Hokit was like, okay, from the very beginning of this fight, regardless of if either of us gas out, I'm fast enough to hit him without him being able to move out of the way. So he's like, fuck it, gets in the front foot, spams 1-2s, and he rocks Blaydes bad, drops into a knee. I think he might have dropped into a knee again later in the round or made him trip. But then after Hokit throws for about 40 seconds, his arms start to gas out, he starts to slow down a ton, and Blaydes starts throwing back just quick, simple things too, 1-2s, 1-2s, 3-4s, simple combinations, and they're starting to land on Hokit too. And they go back and forth in the first round, but then Hokit really, really slows down, and Blaydes has a lot more in the tank, and he just starts beating up, teeing off on Hokit. And then the second round starts, and Blaydes has a little bit of an advantage early on, but Hokit's, he's got a little bit of a boost from the new round starting. But Blaydes is catching up. He's resuming where he was, and then Hokit jumps right on him and hurts him. He starts teeing off on him too, almost finishes him a couple times in the second round. I mean, they both almost got finished like twice around. It was a crazy fight. The third round, less damaging shots were getting landed. Like no one was really as much at risk of getting knocked out by a big punch, but it seemed like both of them were super, attrition. Both of them were hurt a lot. Even between rounds, both of them could like barely make it to the stool. But Hokit just had a bit more speed, and when they were both gassed out and they were throwing with everything, Hokit's speed just made up a much bigger difference, and he was able to just rock Blaydes over the ground. And also, Blaydes had a much worse chin. Blaydes is someone who I've always thought had a really good chin. I know he's been hurt. Like against Kuniev, he looked like he was pretty vulnerable to damage. And against Aspinall, he did get finished in the first round. But against Aspinall, he didn't go out cold. He got dropped. He got put in like a back flat position and got caught with like 10 straight full power ground and pound shots from a heavyweight champion, and he didn't go out cold. Against Overeem, Blaydes shot a takedown right into a knee and didn't go out cold. So people saying like Hokit's pillow-fisted for not finishing Blaydes, I don't necessarily think it's true. I definitely think Blaydes' chin is worse than it was. I do think Hokit had a much better chin. But I also don't necessarily think that Hokit is completely pillow-fisted. I mean, Blaydes has never been put out with punches, really, other than the Aspinall fight, and he didn't get put out. So, yeah, pretty good performance by both. Really good fight. Hokit got on the mic. Shockingly, he didn't. I thought he would get on there and say something controversial, but he just said like a dumb rhyme, and it kind of came off as endearing because you knew, like, in his head, he's like, I'm going to knock this guy out in the first minute. And then he's got to go through like a 15-minute war where he's completely gassed out after a minute. And then he's got to recite like the dumb poem that he wrote before the fight. So yeah, Hokit grew on me a ton. I still think he's a bit annoying. But this week, the way people have been reacting, it's like everyone thinks that Josh Hokit is being a bad heel because they don't like him, which is the opposite of what makes like a good heel is someone you don't like. So the fact that everyone hates him, I think, proves that he's doing what he wanted to do. And I think he's a little bit smarter than people give him credit for. I don't think he's as boisterous or as bombastic as he is on the microphone. But I do like that he came out and fought like an asshole. Because a lot of times when you see like the most trash talk, they come out and they fight, with the sole purpose of winning. And you could see in both fighters that they really did not want to lose. Like Blaydes seemed like he stayed up to punches that would have put him down in the Kuniev fight because he didn't want to lose. And he also seemed like he turned up the volume, especially after he got hurt in the first round, because he's like, fuck this, I'm not going out on my shield. I'm not getting volume TKO'd by a guy who's been talking shit all week. Said that I'm on, part of Pizzagate or whatever. So, yeah. Dominick Reyes versus Johnny Walker. I called it was going to be boring as fuck. It was boring as fuck. I thought Walker might go out to a punch early on, but if he didn't, I knew it was going to be boring. But like I said, Reyes can't strike going forward. Walker can't strike going backwards. They have no counter to each other. Walker could walk onto a punch and get knocked out. Reyes could walk into a punch and, not land anything and risk getting hurt himself, and neither of them did. Yeah. Fuck, I'm still fucking mad about Yuri, dude. But whatever. I mean, Reyes versus Yuri is a decent fight. I think Reyes would probably win that fight, unfortunately, because he's fast enough on his counters. Man, with how cheery fucking Yuri, or how chinny Yuri is, I'm a little worried about him in a lot of matchups. But dude, it sucks. I wish if he would have won tonight, that would have been great. I recorded my reaction, so I'll post it on Twitter. Maybe I'll cut it into this video if I can. But man, it sucks. But yeah, Reyes versus Walker was boring. I gave Reyes rounds 1 and 3. Walker landed more with leg kicks, but if you look at the round totals in the second round, they showed that what's his name? Walker was up 17-9, I think, in the first round on significant strikes, and then later in the same round, they showed that Walker had only landed 5 strikes above the legs. So they counted, I think, all leg kicks as significant strikes in the first round, and that's why there was such a disparity in the numbers. I think a lot of people didn't pay close attention to the first round because it wasn't very exciting. Looked at the numbers and like, oh, okay, Walker wins rounds 1 and 2. But I thought Reyes did much better. I mean, he opened up, he landed a big punch, or like a solid like arm punch, but it landed clean on the chin, and then he landed a head kick with the foot, and then another head kick with the foot, and a couple other punches. At the very beginning of the round, at the very end of round 1, he landed some damage. And I thought that was more than Walker did, so I gave Reyes the round pretty clear. And then round 3, I thought was also pretty clear for Reyes. He started turn up the volume a little bit, mix up the kicks. I think he knew that like if he didn't land anything, people were gonna boo, so he kind of went for it. And he's like, "Fuck it, I'd rather get booed than lose." So whatever, kind of a shit fight. But next fight down the card, God, this fight feels like fucking 6 hours ago. Cub Swanson versus Nate Landwehr opened up the main card, and Cub Swanson looked good. I didn't think he looked amazing. He definitely looked a lot slower than he did in his last fights, or not maybe in his last fight, but I don't know. I feel like against like in like 2023, 2020, early 2024, he didn't look very good. Like I thought he kind of robbed Hakeem Dawodu. I thought he clearly lost to Andre Fili and he was given a split decision. But he against Billy Quarantillo and Nate Landwehr, he definitely looked improved. He definitely looked like he had kind of got some stuff together, maybe better game planning. I don't really know exactly what changed in his camp. But yeah, he came out with the low hands, and Nate Landwehr had literally nothing. That's kind of a lot of people are giving Swanson, or Cub, a lot of credit because, you know, it's his retirement fight. Everyone likes him. But I think not enough people are talking about how shit Nate Landwehr looked. He came out, immediately got backed up. He got caught a couple times early on, and when he was against the fence, he would cover up. He would time a counter perfectly, and then he'd throw the counter and be like a hammer fist. Like literally, that was the first like 4 counters he threw were standing hammer fist with the rear hand. So it's like he's got the game plan right. He's gonna catch Cub with his hands down, and instead of throwing a 1-2 or a check hook, he throws a standing hammer fist and nothing lands. And then he gets rocked, he gets dropped, he gets up, he gets dropped again. As he was getting up, Herb went to step in and Cub threw like a shovel hook right into Nate Landwehr's chin. I think it put him down pretty bad because he got up and he tried to shoot a takedown to Herb, and then he's like, fuck it, the fight's over. Yeah, he looked really bad. I think Nate Landwehr should have been the one to retire after that fight, not Cub Swanson. I feel like maybe we see that kind of often, but yeah. I don't know. Good performance by Cub. Cool for him. He's the first like fighter to get a post-fight like send-off like highlight package that actually deserved it. Like Stipe and Aldo got ones after their fights, but the only ones that like got them immediately after the fight on the same event, like while they're still in the cage, were Anthony Smith. Cub Swanson just got it. Someone just got it. Oh yeah, Michael Chiesa got it, and then what's her name? The one that had the really boring fight with Rose Namajunas. What is her name? That's not coming to me. You know what I'm talking about. Cookie Monster. What is her name? That's just gonna drive me crazy. Well, we're gonna sit here for a minute while I think of her name. Marion Jacek versus whatever. I'm not gonna think of it. But yeah, good performance by Cub. Bad performance by Nate Landwehr. But yeah, I mean he gets the well-deserved send-off. Last fighter from WEC still in the UFC other than Hani Yahya, who probably won't fight again. So probably the last WEC fighter to fight in the UFC. But he looked really good doing it, and he might unretire. I wouldn't mind seeing him in dirty boxing, but if he's going to do it, he should turn around quick because you don't know how fast age is going to catch up to him, especially if he fights like some no-name jobber. He might like risk losing to someone who's really bad in his last fight. So, yeah, good for Cub. Next fight on the card was Aaron Pico versus Patricio Pitbull. Pico looked really good, but he did look very chinny and vulnerable, especially in the first round. Anytime he would come in, it looked like he was landing a lot more clean shots, but everything Pitbull landed seemed a lot more impactful in the first round. Pitbull landed a lot of good outside low kicks, and 2 times Pico came in to throw a combination, and he got pinged with like a stiff jab, and it would like shut him off for a second. Like not shut him off, but like rock him pretty badly. So his chin, I mean, maybe it was too quick of a turnaround, but his chin might not be all that. So a little bit worried about him going forward. I thought he would look a little bit better in this fight, maybe get a finish. But Pitbull was eating some big punches. There was a moment in round 2 where Pico landed like the perfect, like cleanest 1-2 I've ever seen in my whole life. He put everything into it, full into the jab, full into the 2. Pitbull gets hit, doesn't even get rocked, but he doesn't move a ton. So Pico follows through with a fully turned over, like perfect left hook right on the chin again. Doesn't even budge Pitbull. So Pitbull's chin is somehow improved like crazy. I wonder if maybe because when he fought Chihiro Suzuki, he had a bad weight cut or something. It was in Japan. I think they have different rules there with like hydration clauses or something. Not the same as ONE FC's, but I think they might have like IV rules that are different. I don't know. But Pico looked really good in round 2 and 3. He looked very improved. He was timing takedowns really well. There's a moment where he had a weird takedown, kind of like Edwards had against Usman in their first fight. I'm sorry, Usman had against Edwards or not the first fight, the second fight, the first title fight. Usman feinted a takedown. Edwards reacted to it but didn't fully commit, and then he was just so out of position that Usman's like, fine, I'll just duck down again and take the takedown. Pico kind of body feinted. Pitbull reacted, and he kind of squared himself up against the fence, and then Pico just basically double ankle picked him straight into his butt. So yeah, Pico looked really good. He looked a little chinny, but he, against most other fighters, I think he gets the finish there. He was landing really well. We know he's powerful. So yeah. I will say that one funny thing that happened is, I think it was during the Reyes fight, DC was like, these judges tonight have been horrible. One of the judges gave round 1 to Patricio Pitbull, when Pitbull clearly won the first round. And it was just like, you're neglecting to point out how the other judges are bad for not giving Patricio Pitbull round 1. Pico didn't land a ton. I mean, he landed a couple of punches, but nothing super impactful. And Pitbull rocked him twice and had some good low kicks. So Yeah, good performance by Pico. Next fight down the card was Kevin Holland versus Randy Brown. Kind of a shit fight. First 2 rounds were interesting, but Randy Brown really gassed out in the second round, and he was swinging on everything, I guess looking for the knockout blow. When I think if he cleaned it up a bit, he could have found a lot more success. But yeah, Holland looked pretty solid. Randy Brown gassed out. It looked pretty bad. Yeah, Holland wins round 3, and I think he won round 2. Round 1 is actually pretty close. A lot of what Holland landed was low kicks, and I didn't think that he won very clearly. But everyone on the commentary and like a lot of people on Twitter kind of just unanimously agreed that Holland won the first round, when I don't necessarily agree. I thought Randy Brown did fine. Round 2 was Holland, and then round 3 was actually, I think, Randy Brown's, because he just had a lot of control time in the clinch, and no one really landed anything. So Holland gets 1 and 2. Actually, that fight could have gone to Randy Brown, and I wouldn't have hated that. But Randy Brown didn't deserve to win. So I'm not like mad that he didn't get the win, you know. I'm not like Holland had a great performance, but both of them left, I think, a lot on the table, especially later on. But maybe more especially Randy Brown, because he could have pushed and in the third round, but instead he decided to hold up against Cage. So not a good look. Gamrot versus Ribovics. Gamrot looked really good. Ribovics had a problem I didn't foresee in that he doesn't really land big strikes without throwing shifts. And maybe I should have known that, because a lot of times when he rocks people, or every time he's knocked someone out in the UFC, which I guess is one time, and the time he basically knocked out, what's his name? Daniel Zellhuber. It was with shifting punches and shifting strikes. The head kick against Terrence McKinney was off a shift. And you can't really throw shifting strikes super well against wrestlers. So Ribovics was looking decent early with a couple lead kicks. A couple decent punches. But anytime he tried to really put mustard onto a punch, Gamrot would catch a kick, or he would time the takedown pretty well. And Ribovics just didn't have a ton. He was doing the right things to get up. His takedown defense didn't look bad, but he was getting up kind of slowly. He was just taking too long with everything. Like, he was giving up a lot of position, and he ended up just giving up, was it mount? I don't know. He gave up an arm triangle. He gave up his back in the second round, and I think as Gamrot was transitioning from his back to side control, he found the arm triangle. I could be wrong. It was later in the fight around. But Gamrot looked pretty good in the grappling. That fight went about how I thought it would. I kind of overlooked that, Ribovics doesn't land super well, especially with power, without throwing shifts and strikes. So I think that's probably one of the worst matchups for Ribovics, especially considering that. A lot of the other wrestlers that aren't as pressure heavy, or that he doesn't have to necessarily rely on finishing on the feet, might be more prone to getting hurt by his punches. But Gamrot was going to be always hard for Ribovics stylistically. Suarez versus Godinez. First round was close. Godinez hurt Suarez to the body. I actually missed the first round. I'm just repeating what other people said, but yes, Godinez hurt Suarez to the body. Suarez got a takedown and got like 3 minutes control time. Pretty close round. I think on damage, most people gave it to Lupita Godinez. Round 2, Suarez gets a takedown pretty early on. Gets a lot of control. I think he pulled a guillotine at one point. Ended up on her back and got the rear naked choke. Godinez fought hands for a bit, but didn't end up getting out. So yeah, good for Suarez. I got that pick wrong. Whatever. I still think Suarez is shit. She can't strike at all. So whatever. Next fight down the card was MarQuel Mederos versus Chris Padilla. This fight was kind of a robbery, I think. God, I don't remember. I feel like so much has happened since this fight. I don't even remember exactly what happened. But Padilla walked forward with a ton of pressure the entire fight. Every round is pretty similar. I think round 1 was most clear for... I think it was Padilla, but I don't even remember now. But yeah, Padilla just outlanded in volume by Mederos a ton. And Mederos got a point taken for a foul. Again, I don't even remember. The fight was that long ago. So much stuff has happened since then. But yeah, they originally brought out the scorecards as a majority decision for Chris Padilla. I don't know if it was Bruce Buffer's fault or the scorekeeper's fault. I saw the scorecard get posted, and it clearly said 28-28, 28-28, and 28-29 for a draw. But apparently on the scorecard, in the bottom right of the scorecard, they write the result of the fight for Bruce Buffer to read, and they wrote the wrong answer. They wrote that it had been a win for Padilla. So I don't know. I don't know if it's Buffer's fault. I don't know if they just said that after I covered for him, because he kind of ate shit with the Antonia fight. Oh wait, yeah, is it? Oh no, Marcin Tybura. Sorry. My memory's all over the place. Fuck. But I think both fighters look good. I thought Padilla looked better. He fought a little bit smarter. I thought that was a really good matchup for him. He went a lot more Thai style this time, saying more, straight up and down. Was a lot more patient. He would back up Mederos to the fence and then, hand fight or like be a lot more precise and feint and look for the specific punches and specific locations he wanted. But he still kept the volume really high and he fought a good technical fight. So it would have been cool to see him get the win. The judges gave 2 rounds to Mederos, and with the point deduction, I don't know. I still think Padilla should have won, maybe all 3 rounds. But Mederos didn't fight bad, so good for him, I guess. It sucks for Padilla though, because he missed weight and he gets the draw with the win taken away from him. So he's gonna get, he thought that like if he hadn't missed weight, he would have gotten 100% of his show money and his win money, and now he's getting 80% of his show money, and maybe like splitting the win money. So sucks for him. But he's probably getting paid more than Mederos because Mederos is newer to the UFC, and I think Padilla's probably on his 2nd contract by now. Vicente Luque versus Kelvin Gastelum. Both these guys looked like shit. Kind of, they didn't look terrible. They didn't look as bad as I thought they might, but it was kind of tit for tat in the feet. Gastelum might have gotten a little bit better of that, the tit for tat shit. But, sorry, I'm still rattled by Yuri getting knocked out. It's really settling in for me now. But Gastelum shot a bad takedown. He got caught in a Darce choke. Actually, it wasn't Darce. I'm pretty sure it was an Anaconda. Or a, what's the other one called? A Bravo choke. But Joe Rogan said it's a Darce, so UFC reported it as a Darce. But yeah, good for him. It's pretty cool to see him get a win. He should retire. He took a picture after the fight next to his teammate Gregor Rodriguez, who was also a 185er, and Gregor Rodriguez looked about 5 weight classes above Luque. If Luque can get back down to 170 and fight competitively, good for him. But he just doesn't look like the old Luque, and he definitely doesn't have like the physical attributes of the old Luque that let Luque be like, who he was. Like he had to take a lot of damage to give a lot of damage. I don't think he's capable of that now. And if he's going to rely on just like begging the opponent to end up in a shitty position for a Darce to get a win, then I don't think he's going to have a very long career going forward. So I think it might not be, it would have been a good time to retire now. But if he tells UFC, hey, I'm going to retire my next fight, they'll probably give him a main card spot in the next Brazil card. And I don't see why he wouldn't take that. So that's my hope. He could fight a, at 185, there's so many shit. Chris Weidman's still there. There's so many shit guys in middleweight. And even at like he could fight Morono or Nico Price again. Or I guess Price just retired. But yeah, there's a lot of guys for Luque to fight. So it's not over for him, but maybe he should hang it up soon. And then Charles Radtke versus Francisco Prado. Prado had some control time at some points, but Radtke got a lot of the better as far as just damage. He was doing better on the feet early on. From the bottom, he opened up a big cut on Prado, which is more than Prado was doing from the control time. So yeah, pretty good performance from Radtke. He dropped the F slur on that post fight, which is I'm surprised he's allowed to do that. I get like he did the first time and there was no consequences, but you'd think it was no consequence because the UFC's like, hey, if you do that again, you're never fighting in the UFC ever again. And then he wins on a pay-per-view the next time he's on a pay-per-view and just drops it again. So I don't know. The way he said it wasn't even like to sell a fight. Like the last time he did it was just calling out the crowd again. So you know what? Fuck it. Maybe that's his thing. But yeah, let me check if the UFC have posted the rewards. I'm going pretty long-winded. But yeah, Tension 1. The Risen card's coming up, so there's stuff to look forward to. The fact that like my underdogs that I picked for this month were Arslanbek Makhmudov and Yuri Prochazka, and both of them had really shit performances where they lost on the same day. Doesn't make me excited for Junto Nagatani, like my favorite boxer. Did they post their performance bonuses? Not yet. All right, they didn't, so I'll just do the thing where I do every week where I'll just fucking guess. Let us see. Who got a big knockout? Ulbrich probably gets it one. Maybe they might just do the top 3 fights. Maybe Swanson gets one because usually they like to give a send-off to the retiring fighters. But he got the finish, so I doubt. He's already getting 50K. I don't know if they'll give him another 100. I don't think Gamrot gets one. I don't think Tatiana Suarez gets one. Maybe Luque, but Luque again, they're paying him a ton. They're probably saving him for a big retirement fight, so they might not give it to him. If they think like we're giving him a favor anyways, let's not give him 50K. That might be why. So I think it'll be Ulberg, Costa, and then Hokit versus Blaydes is fight of the night, which is the top 3 fights, which they rarely do, but those were, I think, the 3 best performances. Maybe other than Cup Swanson. But again, they weren't fought like shit. So I don't know. People are giving that performance a lot of credit. Whatever. I'm not going to take anything away from him. I'm done. Those are that's my recap for the card. There's more fights going on this weekend, so I'll be live tweeting all those. Links in the description. Follow me on Twitter. I'll probably post a reaction to my the finish of the main event. Yeah, I gotta post it. I've been going long with it. It's 30 minutes, so yeah, that's all. I'll post my predictions for next week's card next week, or in the next week. I'll post my recap for that after the event. Let me know what you thought of the card. Like the video, share the video, subscribe. Yeah, follow me on Twitter. That is all. Thank you for listening.